Attention! The National Weather Service has issued a hurricane warning for the entirety of the National Hockey League. Please stay tuned for further information from the Storm Cellar.
Welcome back to the first post-season, for us at least, edition of the Storm Cellar. Big guest today, Ray. We hooked a big fish amongst some of the other big fishes that we've had. But this is going to be a fun one because this person has credentials. I mean, unlike us.
Yeah, so we love having experts on when we can. I think back to like Shane Willis, and I mean, we've had some pretty cool guests. This one's right near the top as well, and it's a little bit of salve for the injury that you feel after all the scrapes and things that we got from the Panthers.
We're getting a Jackson Blake style today. This is a person who is, I think, on the rise in their own way. I think that they've opened up to the Canes fan base over the last month or so. I'm going to say probably I think they've had an influx of Caniacs finding and digging. Hey, here's somebody who has a media outlet who isn't just bagging on the Canes for being a small market team. So Coach Ryan from HotGarbageSports, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. It's super exciting to be here, chat with you. And I've had so much unbelievable outpouring of support from the Caniacs in Carolina. I'm slowly becoming a fan.
There you go.
Nice.
We'll
give us a minute, right? It's like the weather in Raleigh. Give us a minute because there is a subset of Caniacs that can be have the chip on their shoulder. It's a fair. I'm sure you've heard the same things about our fan base, right? They can be chippy, they can be defensive, and it's a fair point. But I'm bringing this up specifically because you're here. When the national media talks about the Canes and they clearly have not watched the Hurricanes, that's why we have a chip on our shoulder. And then I forgot who within the fan base first was like, oh, hey, check this guy out, and reposted it. And then a bunch of us were like, oh, hey, no, you're coming in with an independent eye, and you're actually looking at the games and going, well, this is what's going on, good, bad, or indifferent. And when they play well, you say that they beat the Devils, they beat Washington because of the stuff, like they were able to push their style of play, those kind of things. I feel like that's all the Caniacs really want is a fair shake, because in context, right now it's Carolina, can they win an Eastern Conference Finals game, right? Oh, they finally won one, but they're terrible. They're not as good as, they should be. Dallas with the same record, is up for GM of the year, is up for a coach of the year. I forget which one, Dallas, Dallas made the moves, like Dallas brought in Rand, and it's like, didn't we both just lose 5-1 in the conference finals? Like, we've gone to 3 conference finals in 7 years with playoffs every single year. Dallas has gone to, I think, 3 or 4 conference finals over the same time and missed the playoffs twice. Why isn't the discussion even close to being the same? You know what I mean? I don't know. It drives me crazy. But anyway, that's why you're here, right?
And I think one of the other examples, if I can just jump in, is the astonishment and the rise after 4 nations of Jacob Slavin, where everyone finally said, holy cow, look at Slavin. He's just amazing. And I'm like, you know what? The Hurricanes have been saying it since he arrived. So, and the fans, like, we knew all along, and all of a sudden he's just being discovered. It's there's the chip on the shoulder too, right? Where you just say, like, we know what we see, and we've been telling you, but no one would listen. So,
well, I tell you what, guys, local fans always know better. And I mean that truly, bottom of my heart. No one follows a team like local fans and diehard fans will. When I think about the media and I think about people that cover the NHL as a whole, I can only use my examples and what I've seen on YouTube and covering teams. There's a few narratives you picked up on there, but one, hockey with 82 games and 32 teams, it's impossible to watch them all. Yeah. So when you're a national media broadcaster, you have to pick the teams that are going to get clicks and draws. It's a money-based business. Everything's a results-based business.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, some small markets, and I have to say my team's a victim of that too, being up here in Winnipeg. It is very small city, 800,000 people. There's no metro area really outside of it, million in the province. Even there was an interesting survey about us that said 65% of our city is an avid NHL fan. Huge base compared to the size. And even that wouldn't compare to a microcosm of a New York, Toronto, or a Boston. So I understand that from the business perspective. Where I think Caniacs have the chip on their shoulder, and it's a valid chip, is that if you're going to step in as the national media and talk about a team, watch a couple games. If you have a brain and these guys in the national media have played in the National Hockey League, they've covered it, it shouldn't take you more than 2 or 3 games to be able to pick out what this team is doing. You might not be able to go down the rabbit hole of a Jason Blake and his whole rise and where he's going, but you should be able to pick up the team tactics, the systems, the vibes, as the kids would say these days, about what the team is trying to accomplish. And I do think a lot of the times people fairly criticize national media in Canada and the States for being lazy, and that can happen. And I do believe the second piece you've noted too, where teams getting flowers repeatedly. I've noticed this as well too. It's the marching beat of one guy has said it. I don't know who this guy is, but one dude has come up with a narrative and everyone has just picked it up and rolled. Dallas is such a prime example. I don't know why everybody for the last 4 or 5 years has said Dallas is the GOAT. But when it comes to talking about a team and success and greatest trade deadline deals and coaching and back offices, they're the best. And I'm not knocking Dallas. They're very, very good. But there's a lot of other teams to talk about and point to. So I think your similarities bang on. I look at the Carolina Hurricanes, their success, what they've built through the draft, who their coach is, how their organization has acted versus Dallas. And I go, the difference is Mikko Rantanen. Okay, so what? He didn't fit in the system. And the Canes do something absolutely magical that I purposely stay off media before I do my channel because I want to do as unbiased of my own feelings as I can. Mm-hmm. I thought the Canes won it. And then all of a sudden I'm reading The Athletic going, boy, am I dumb? Everybody hates my opinion on this in the media. But I think if you can take Martin Necas and turn him into the assets that were turned into, just ignore Rantanen and watch the Necas flow through. I go, genius. What a play. Give these guys, give them the $10 million. You turn Necas into, it looked like draft day with Kevin Costner. You know, I'm sitting here going, did he just hang up the phone and say he wants David Putney? Like, what is this?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And we're going to get into why I value your opinion here really quickly. But we said the same thing. Ignore Mikko Rantanen. Drury and Necas out. 2 firsts, 2/3. Hall, Stankoven.
Genius. And
do that every day.
Underrated player. Being a Jets fan, this guy has torched us on the third line for a couple of years. He's a young kid. No one's talking about him. The amount of times I've wanted to throw a Coca-Cola at my TV because Stankoven won the game for the Stars is very high. And I just watched him do it with Carolina a few times. They may not have gotten over the hub, but he's like Mighty Mouse. You know,
he
he's
had
not
the same number of points in the finals as Mikko Rantanen. He had 2 goals, assists. Mikko had 3. I mean, a little bit of that is me being petty, but a little bit of that is me going, this kid is not a $12 million guy. This kid is a second-year rookie. Yep. And he gets it. He's, you know, they call him a bulldog, and I'm like, that's it. Like, the kid is just, as a lunch pail guy, a gritty 4th, 3rd line guy that I love. The kid is all that, plus he's got skill. You know what I mean?
And he's gonna fit a system. He's gonna do all the little things, and we're gonna talk about all the little things that Rod wants guys to do. But when I think about true superstars in the NHL, just watch these playoffs. There are only 2 superstars, 3 arguably I could point to, that have been consistent and delivered to their contract game after game, and they all play on the Oilers right now. McDavid, Draisaitl, Bouchard, every game, points, hits, takeaways. They don't take a day off even when they lose. On the Panthers side, Barkov has just been elite. I actually think he gets undervalued because he's a two-way guy. Very much like Bergeron, he's going to be undersold for life, but even still, it's quite good. And then you take a look at the Canes and every other team out there. Mikko Rantanen had 2 good series and disappeared. Like, where's the $12 million man now when you're playing against Edmonton? Invisible. That's not good. You don't want that in your organization. Kucherov's another guy that stands out to me that always plays. The Maple Leaf Stars, hot and cold, and drives people nuts. So I think maybe we can count 10 players on our hands that you go, yeah, I'll give you 14, 12 million, 10 million, and I'll feel comfortable with it. Everybody else, oh boy, And I think Rantanen's in that category. He can be an absolute stud and he can be a ghost.
Yeah, we know the ghost
we know all
part.
about the ghost
we saw that up
Yeah.
in person in Toronto when we went up there, and I guess it, if this always comes down to the player themselves. If they don't like the system that they're in or whatever, if they're hard, we know about the talent, we know about the skill, but if they don't have the will to put it in and play the way that the coach is asking you to, as well as your line mates. Like, even was it Aho who made that comment? Like when Stankoven came over, I think one of the first things that he said was, it's great to see a guy that can do the drills,
without screwing them up.
Without messing them up.
That was definitely a shot across the bow from Aho, sir. Yes.
Yeah, like it was, and Stankoven, oh my gosh, just I got a chance, you focus on the Hurricanes and you see a lot of the Eastern Conference games, and only every once in a while you get a chance to see Dallas. But there was something to him that was infectious. You could see it. And everyone, there were so many people that said, oh, Tulsky, you blew it. Why didn't you get, Wyatt Johnston? And come on, like you're trading, a big name, and all you get is Stankoven. And I don't even get to see him that much. And I said, what are you guys talking about? Like, give your head a shake. This guy is going to be perfect. And like Tulsky said, it's like he was born to be a Hurricane, because that's the way the whole team is designed to play. And he plays it actually better than some of the guys that have played this system for a long time. Like the kid's engine doesn't stop, and his effort is always there, always. Like, you never see a loose puck that he is not skating hard towards and then throwing his body. Like, what more do you want out of a guy? I mean, that's really, he doesn't have to score another goal for the rest of his days. He keeps playing like that. I will be a fan of his for life. Honestly.
To be fair, Ray, we have a lot of guys who play that way and can't score. We need one of them to score, please.
Well, no, true enough, but you know what I'm saying.
I do. So we call you Coach Ryan.
Yeah.
For folks, I'll link the podcast you did with Joe Giglio and Joe Ovies on the OG podcast, but a little bit about your background. Like, why are you here? Tell us a little bit about your YouTube channel, because we definitely want to spread what you're doing to more Caniacs.
Indeed.
No problem. So my YouTube channel, the high-level gist of it, summary, the elevator pitch, if you will, is I take what fans see on the ice. They know it in their heart, they know it in their brain, and they might not be able to articulate it the way they want to articulate it, or they might even articulate it wrong. And all of that is fine. And I just put it into simple words that someone 5, 6, 7 years old can understand. And you really get that aha moment of, I knew I saw that, but now I understand that not only did I see it, but this is why it felt that way. So you might watch a game and feel really good about a loss and go, I felt great about that, even though we lost. And now you figure out why. And you might have a game you win and go, well, we won, chin up. And you look and go, I don't know, we got through the skin of our teeth. That didn't feel like a win. So that is the hope of the channel. I started playing hockey when I was 5, like a lot of people in Canada tend to do. My parents were very gracious and wonderful people. They took me to all the games, all the practices I needed to, and I'm probably one of the last generations of folks that came from a blue-collar family with it. My dad loaded airplanes. My mom helped my grandfather out with his small business, and they really put everything and every piece of effort into me and my brother that they had available. Whatever funds they had. I think my dad wore the same pair of sweats for years, my mom the same. My mom drove me everywhere. Absolute MVP of the team, up at 6, getting me hockey skates, taking me for skate sharpenings, helmets, you name it. She did it all. And my dad was there on the ice with me, making sure he was in my ear properly. He was never mean or awful about it. So that carried me through. 13 or 14, I decided I wanted to play high level. High level decided they didn't want me. So very much like a lot of the Hurricanes, I grinded my way onto every hockey team I could at the highest level I could. And I got pretty far. For a guy that shouldn't have been there, I was the 7th guy on most defensive pairings. But you do it through work. You do it through being a glue guy in the locker room. You do it through doing drills correctly and showing up early and leaving late. So that was my career. I had a fun kick of the can in junior and made some awesome friends through there. I also had some terrible coaches, just god awful, and I had some great ones. And then when I was done, I decided at 24, I missed the game, finished university, went into coaching, started coaching at the 13, 14 level. And in Canada, like, you'll note if you're from Calgary, the States may not recognize it, especially the fans down in Carolina. 14 is the most critical age for a Western Canadian, and 15 is that for an Eastern Canadian, meaning Ontario and Quebec, because we play major junior hockey up here. There's a lot of Canadians that will go play college hockey, and that's a very viable route, but it's still a much smaller route than major junior, and players are selected for major junior at 14 years old, very young, very early. We'll talk all about Seth Jarvis and his path there. And it's a large decision for them. So that age tends to be the most critical or important age for coaching. So even though it sounds like it's far away from the pros, it sets up everything for the pros, for those players. There's a lot of clips that follow the internet of people saying, hey, nobody on this team is going to make the NHL. Well, that's wrong. I've coached enough teams, and I've got about 15, 20 players I've coached in the NHL today. Not because of me. They're very talented people.
Yeah.
But someone's got to make the league. So I spent 10 years in that system, the 13, 14-year-old pre-draft to major junior system, with some of the best players on planet Earth. Some players that ended up, they're going to be accountants and doctors or lawyers. Some are going to be used car salesmen. Some are going to work in an office. And my whole goal was to just build young men that had a life after hockey and became good people through their teen years and their adult years. And I think I succeeded with that. And through there, Hockey Canada kind of poked me on the shoulder and said, we'd like to start certifying you to higher levels. We call it High Performance 1, which is the highest level in Canada. There's actually a secret one called High Performance 2, but only very, very few get invited for that. And I got poked there, and I got poked there. I got to do, it's basically a 3-year path. It's similar to, a trades degree would be at college. You do 3 weeks in a classroom in the summer, 35 degrees. We got 12 minutes of summer here. And we had Barry Trotz and Paul Maurice and some of the best coaches on the planet come chat with us and help us through our program. And then after that 3 weeks, you spend about 6-7 months writing the equivalency of a thesis, if you will. Everything from nutrition, pregame prep, what you're going to do with each individual player, how you run team meetings, what your practice schedule is, exactly what your yearly plan would do. What would you do if everything's screwed up? Because it always does. How are you going to handle parents? How are you going to handle scouts? You lay it out. It's about 250 pages by the time you're done. You submit it, they mark it, and then over 2 years, they come and evaluate just randomly. They come to your practices and watch you. They talk to parents, which is lovely.
That's gotta be
They
tough.
talk to kids. Yeah, and they give you a mark, and at the end of it, you get a little certification, and I get a little checkbox on a Hockey Canada website that says certified. And that's as high as it goes. So I took that in COVID. I had no idea how to do YouTube. I had no idea how to build a computer, any of this audio stuff. And my buddy, we were watching YouTube, and he goes, "You couldn't do that." I said, "I think I could do that." He goes, "Oh, you're an old man. You're 32. At that point, 32, getting into tech. Give me a break. Sorry, guys, I'm not." I went, hold my beer, as they say. And I started it. I had a lot of fun for 2 years. And then I paused the channel there for 2 years out of just, I wasn't getting as dialed in as I'd like to. I wasn't getting the traction I wanted. I didn't know where I wanted to go with it. And this is the journey every media creator does. Do I want to be a fan of a team? Do I want to focus on 3 teams? Do I want to get heavy into advanced stats? And then after 2 years, I missed it a lot, came back 4 months ago and decided, I think I have a really good pathway forward now. So now the channel is about more 20% hot takes, because hockey is hot takes. No matter what people say, it's an opinion-based game, and there's no expert that can have a better opinion than a fan, or vice versa. And then 80% of it is just tactical breakdown, what's actually happening on the ice, what's actually happening in the room, because I have a very good insight as to what these coaches and players are thinking, saying, and doing when those doors close. Maybe not verbatim, but I'm probably pretty close. And I'll put it on YouTube and see if people like it. And turns out Carolina loves it.
Well, we should for and I just when you were talking about becoming a coach and being tapped to join the Illuminati, if you will, about this secret and how you work with the young kids. Uh, the mentorship aspect that you just mentioned secretly, how you're helping them develop, and they may not be hockey players, they may go on to do other things, but the mentorship is so important. It's what I love just coaching, basketball for junior high kids and stuff. It's about helping them develop and grow, not just as players, but as people. And hearing you say that and to do it at your level where it is so important, like you mentioning, talking to the parents. Parents, that's an experience. The hockey moms, first of all, you're right, they are heroes. We've talked about it before. There's nothing like a hockey mom or hockey dad who throw everything into it, and it's so hard. Like, I think they found a way to pack 36 hours into 24 and still can function doing everything else they do. It's superhuman. So I wanted to thank you for sharing that, because I think and congratulate you on it as well. The mentorship is a big thing for me, and to hear that you've become an expert at that sort of thing gives me the chills. Love hearing it.
Thanks. It's fun and it's a partnership. And the fun piece you touched on is I got to work with Seth for 2 weeks in one of these camps. So Seth was a level above the level I was coaching when he was 14, going through that spot. But we have Western Canadian scouting camps that we put together where you progress through and you start at step 1, which is local, and it ends with Team Canada. And Seth obviously ended on Team Canada at every level, including the Four Nations, and he'll be there for the Olympics. I know it's not announced yet, but bottom dollar, he's going to be there for a long time. So I got to catch Seth on the Manitoba local tour for 2 weeks. I got to work with him for 2 weeks, and all I can say is, wow, both the human and the player. I highly doubt he'd even remember me. He's had so many people in his hockey career through it, but you obviously don't forget a game breaker like that. But I was lucky enough to coach his best friends for an entire year. All the guys who were in the van, all the guys who were driving to Carolina. And I got to tell you, I'm going to have them on my show in the next couple of weeks. They are A+ human beings. They're all in their 20s now. They're doing fantastic. They support their friend supports them. You can see the community they built, and that's the winning formula for hockey. And that's what we try to do as coaches. You see the Seth going, and you give guys like that the runway to experience their dream. But you also got to turn the other ones, the guys in the van, you got to give them the opportunity to have a good time. And that good time isn't just, hey, go have fun, do what you want. The good time is demonstrating structure, consequences, good and bad. As adults, we're like, consequences? What? Consequences can be good. You work really hard, a good consequence comes, and you don't listen to the plan or do the drill right, and a negative consequence will come. And that negative consequence shouldn't be yelling or demeaning. It's just, hey, you didn't put in the work, you didn't put in the input, this is the output. And that's what we teach them at 14. Yep. And all these guys have just become phenomenal adults. They're beauties, as we would say up here. They're really good people. So that's what we try to build.
And to Ray's point, and you just reiterated, for you and all the people like you, for our listeners, we have a lot of people who are newer to hockey, or they enjoy hockey, but they don't know the surrounding, right? They don't know the CBA. They don't necessarily look at trades or those kind of things. Major, junior, a lot of kids are away from home, right? At 14, living with a billet family, right? Basically a foster family for a season. So when you talk about structure, like me at 14 as a Gen Xer, because I'm almost 50, is very different than a modern 14-year-old, I would say, because I was self-sufficient, because I had been a latchkey kid already at 14 for like 5 years. Like, I was on my own, do your homework, cook some food, do this, do that. Mom and dad will be home by 7. But with hockey kids, like, they're leaving home at 13, 14, 15 years old, living with a foster family who a lot of times foster somebody every season. Like, so there's some structure there, but they need those families and their coaches to set that structure, as you said, to give them, and there are positive and negatives to what you're going to do, and that those have actual ramifications long term, right? It's not just that, well, you didn't give 100% today in practice. Like, well, now you do that 4 or 5 times. Like, that's going to have a long term effect if this is what you want. So
you're right. And there's 3 messages we prepared parents for and kids for in our first team meeting. The first one, you nailed it. Parents, you're so stressed about this game of hockey and where your kid's going to play. You realize you're cheering. So at 15 years old, your kid leaves home and they're never coming back, ever. They will be back for 2 weeks in the summer because hockey runs forever, 2 weeks at Christmas, and someone else is about to raise your kid, and they are a kid at 15, and they're going to be raised by 20-year-olds in a locker room that have the brain of a 20-year-old. They're going to be raised by a coach, and this came to the players I would talk to. We need to prepare you at 13, 14, so at 15, 16, you have the mental understanding that you may run into a coach, unfortunately, that does not see you as a person. They see you as a tool. You're a screwdriver, you're a hammer, you're a drill. You're a tool to a roster, to a means to an end for a private organization to win a championship or get drafted into the NHL. And you're a kid. And I think that carries into what a lot of fans think about when we talk about why didn't we trade for guys like Wyatt Johnson. These are human beings that have real personalities. They have real backgrounds like all of us do. They're not just assets on a roster. And I don't think as fans, we always recognize that piece. There's a definite likelihood for, I'm going to cling on to that Wyatt Johnson piece, because there's a huge likelihood the owner of Dallas, the GM of Dallas that drafted him, they're not letting him go. That's their internal guy. We picked him. We found him. We have a relationship with him. He has a relationship with us. Maybe they're friends. Maybe they're not. Who knows? It doesn't matter. But there's some kind of relationship. It's not just hockey. So it's probably not even a starter. You're not getting my internal homegrown future first line center. Pound salt. There's nothing you can give me to take away that guy, including Sidney Crosby. So there's real pieces. And then when I think of, back to the Mikko Rantanen and blowing up drills, maybe they don't like the system or the coach, but also it's just as likely maybe they had a bad day. Maybe they got 3 daughters at home that the internet didn't work and they're screaming, or maybe they have a son that just got bullied at school. They're dealing with the things we all deal with every day. Maybe their wife gave it to them. Maybe they were mean to their wife. It's just a bad day. Like, things go up and down. These are human beings. And we all look at this and go, for $10 million, I would do anything. We're humans. The bar moves. You give any 3 of us that, we're going to be thrilled for 5 weeks. And then all of a sudden stress is going to show back up again. All money does is upgrade your problems. You don't lose problems. You just get better problems.
I would still like the better problems, though.
Everyone wants the better problems. You always want the money.
Yeah. And to that point, Ray and I feel like went out of our way to give Mikko a chance. I know I personally, almost the whole time he was here until the last 4 or 5 days, was like, look, he thought he was going to be an Av forever. He's been uprooted. It's a different system. He's being required to play 200 feet all the time. And then in the after fact, I'm like, well, I was a dummy, but I'm glad I gave him the benefit of the doubt still, because you just don't know until you know. And now we know. Yep. But at the time, I didn't know. And I'm like, I'm going to give this guy, because as you said, they're human. And especially the way you were coaching at 14, 15 in a locker room with 20-year-olds, as a dad of an 11-year-old, that's a scary thought.
Yep.
And for my 14-year-old to be 400 miles away in a locker room full of 20-year-olds, that's an even scarier thought. So the fact that parents feel comfortable putting trust in folks like yourself, I think is says a lot about the people who you and the other coaching staff are, and that you know what you're doing too. It's not just like I think they'll do a good job. It's I think they'll do a good job, and I'm trusting them with my offspring. So,
well, and here's the third thing we tell guys of that age, and it's good for parents to hear. It's good for fans to hear in the NHL too. There's hard work and there's talent. There's both things, and human beings love to talk about hard work because it's controllable. We can control how much work we do. That's why you see all that rise and grind garbage out there. You may not be able to be Dwayne the Rock Johnson, but you can follow his morning routine. Yeah. And you can do his day. That's controllable. Talent is not necessarily controllable. It may even be uncontrollable. I haven't decided yet. but there is an aspect of it you're born with. And unfortunately, when it comes to hockey, and it does mimic life, in my opinion, talent trumps hard work. And people hate that. Oh, it stings. They hate to hear it. But if you have two inputs and the output is success, you can only control one of those things. Talent's going to be what it's going to be. I just tell kids it, and I think fans got to know it at the NHL level too about players. Every coach, every GM is going to see talent oozing out of a player, regardless of hard work, and think they can be the one to change that, because there's an input that if I can find that switch, it could change. And everyone is going to pick talent over hard work. Now, when they meet and you get hard work with talent, well, now you've got McKinnon. Now you've got Crosby. Now you've got Aho. Now you've got elite. But they're very rare. And the crappy reality is we all think we work hard, and every NHL player thinks they work hard. Pick any name you want. So we picked on Rant, and go find Austin Matthews, very divisive. Yeah. Austin Matthews thinks he's the hardest working guy in the room. Is he? Up for debate, right?
Yeah.
But I know he believes that. I fully believe he believes that. We all believe that as humans, right? So talent matters. Talent matters a lot. Sometimes you can't change it. Sometimes it's static, and life isn't fair. But these are lessons we learn as we go through sport. That's why I love sport, because it mimics real life, the good and the bad. It gives you preparation when the stakes actually matter. Because let's be honest, the Stanley Cup is really important, but does that matter as much as certain other things in life? Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not.
But
it's high. It is high.
Yeah. And I have about 10,000 questions for you now. And I know we don't have you for that long. I don't even know where to start, because you've given us so much to build on. Brad, where do we begin?
This is I can go.
Fire
so
away.
we talked a little bit about this before. So let's briefly go over just the series in general, right? Carolina, Florida. Yeah. We said, and watching your video, you echoed it, and I told you earlier, like, that made me feel good. Like, okay, I am seeing what I'm seeing. And to your point, we all know what we're seeing. We may not have the words to put it into context, but you said Carolina was overly aggressive. And the way I phrased it was they were overly emotional. They let their emotions dictate what they were doing, which led to them in turn being overly aggressive, which led to them being out of position. And that's the thing that they don't do, right? Is they're a positional hockey team. And the other thing the other big one you said was, like, cross-check them before they cross-check you. The Aho penalty at the start of game one was retaliation. And everybody who's watched hockey for a while knows, like, the retaliation is the one that's going to get seen. And I made the argument a week or so ago that you either fight fire with fire and you play on the line. I won't go as far as say dirty, but you play the way Florida does and you're doing all the antics. But you have to commit to that, right? And it can't be retaliatory. You have to be instigating that. Or you try and walk away and just not get into that. But to Ray's point last week is you walk away from it hoping that, well, the refs are going to call it. It's a penalty. They're going to call it. But they never do. Like, they're just not going to. I say Florida, Paul Maurice's team, since he was his first time in Carolina and his second time in Carolina, he likes the rough stuff. He likes players that are agitators. He always has.
Loves it.
And I've said this a bunch. Florida knows penalties are a volume business. The Kachucks get this better than maybe anybody in the league. If I commit 20 penalties a game, the league will not call them all. No matter how egregious, they're not going to call them. They're only going to call one or two of those on me. So once I get once I've fulfilled my 2 penalties for the game, or typically 1, I can just keep doing what I want, right? So I think Carolina and Florida was a better matchup than maybe the results showed. I thought game 1, they lost. They didn't play as well as they could have for a number of reasons. I think emotions were just they were just too amped up for the game. Home crowd, it's Florida again. Game 2, I thought, was one of the worst games they've played in a decade.
Abomination is the word that jumps into my head.
Yeah,
for
game
that
3
game.
Was better for a while, and then I don't know what happened. Like, and maybe you have some idea. Like, after the second period, like, things just fell apart. And then in game 4, we finally got the matchup that Caniacs thought we were going to get, which was a good back and forth game with a lot, where both teams were, because they play similar styles, and it was kind of a who's going to play that style better tonight for the first time all series. And they won. And then game 5 came out and, it started out well. And the only, I don't want to put you on the spot like trying to second guess Rod Brindamore, because people yell at us for that all the time. So they'll definitely yell at you, just so you know. The Caniacs anyway. Carolina, particularly this season, they've given up a lot of back-to-back goals, like 2 goals in a minute. A dozen maybe this season, right? I mean, in less time, but I'm saying, generally speaking, 2 goals in a minute has probably happened a dozen times this season.
At least.
In game 5, the moment Florida scores and you could see that they're feeling it, I'd have called a timeout. I'd have been like, nope, we're going to just settle this down. Guys, take a breath. You're up 2-1. Like, you know what I mean? That's one of, for all my criticisms of Rod Brindamore, which are not a ton, but he has a couple of blind spots, I still think he's one of the top 3 or 4 coaches in the league.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't say that what I think are nitpicky things. I think they're legitimate, but like, even with those faults, other coaches have more faults. But that was like the one thing where I was like, that to me could change the game. You settle the boys down. Maybe Florida doesn't get that second goal, and now you go forward up 2-1. It's a different attitude, right? You can be a little more aggressive. You feel a little more confident, like you get your legs going under you. So
what you're talking about there in the timeouts, and you give me a lot to chat about there, but we'll start with the timeout. I've used that tactic before mid-game, and it's worked, and we've won. I've used that tactic before mid-game, and it's changed nothing. And those timeouts are very valuable pieces, especially because you only get one. What we don't know is we don't know Rod Brindamore's personality as a coach and as a person. We don't know the relationship he has with each player, and that's where calling that timeout can be successful. We actually did it. It's burned in the back of my brain. So Seth's buddies, Lucas and Sloan, they were on a team where we called that timeout. And we talked about nothing. Everybody came to the bench. I think I talked about something that happened in sports that day, and the kids looked at me like I was an idiot. They're like, what are you doing? Like, we're in a game. And I was like, oh, sorry. You get your mind off this. Like, just let it go right through you. And remember what brought us here. Everything's going to be fine. And is there a line out here that can go out there without any pressure on their shoulders? And, a couple guys put up their hands. I said, you're going to go. Get back to our system. Do what we do. This is our game. Mm-hmm. We play our way. Please get back to it and get everybody into rhythm. And they did. And there we go. So it can work for some teams. It may not work for others. And we just don't know the nuances of the personalities there. So I don't think you're wrong saying it. And people saying Rod not doing it could be good, could be bad. We'd have to ask Rod. So one day when you get big enough and you have him on, you can ask him that. But I don't think you're far off with it. When you think about what you use, the term emotional, I picked the term aggressive on my channel because emotional to, I think a lot of humans can mean bad things too. It can mean good and bad. It's like consequence. It has 2 sides, and I know where you're going with it. I picked aggressive because I thought it was a little more dialed in terms of, I thought Carolina got away from what brought them to the dance, and they tried to fight fire with fire. This was Muhammad Ali, George Foreman, and George Foreman hits way too hard. Do not outpunch George Foreman. Ali learned that. Bend, not break. So take the punishment, sit on the ropes, play your game, and eventually you're going to have a chance to counterpunch. You have to. That's just the way a game works. That's the way sports works. So I thought Carolina came out and tried to initiate more cross checks, more physicality, and show Florida they wouldn't be pushed around. I would have preferred to have seen Carolina stay confident in their system, because what brings them to the dance is that they're always on the right side of the puck between their goalie and a player. They always initiate contact, which doesn't mean making a hit. They just get right towards a body, and it's like being in a phone booth. The closer I am to you, the harder it's going to be for you to cross-check me, hurt me, beat me defensively. As long as I'm between you and my goalie, I'm taking away time and space. I don't need to blow you up. I just need to be near you. And Carolina's not a big team, so just get close to them. And then you almost have to have that attitude, I believe, of hit me, cross-check me, slash me. I'm going to walk away. I will bend and not break. I will beat you on the scoreboard. And I know it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt a lot. I think fans undersell how much those cross checks hurt and how damn good we are. And I know, because I am that guy. I know where your equipment isn't, and I will find it, and I will find it in a second, and I will leave you with a bruise that nobody saw. Only you know it's there, but boy, does it hurt. It won't kill you, but you'll remember it for the rest of the game. And then I'll find it a second and a third time. So this is the game in the game. And I thought Carolina tried to do that first, and I would have liked to have seen them just give me all you got, and then I'm going to counterpunch. And that counterpunch has to be getting pucks towards the net, which Carolina did. Yep. What I don't think they did is once that puck was on the net, they didn't get net front presence like they normally do. They score on the second and the third shot. It's not the first shot. And I really feel like they were reluctant or hesitant to get inside like they know how to do. And that's where you're going to win a series. So to me, that's the playoff switch that Carolina needs to have. And I think Brind'Amour is trying to develop. And I think a lot of Caniac fans see it and the media doesn't see it. But the system they play is so difficult because it relies on 20 players to do their job exactly right. This isn't an X's and O's. We have a better tactical system. The Florida Panthers system is very simple. Get the puck out of the zone, chipping it high off the glass, stay on the strong side of the puck, send 5 in there, and beat the living heck out of them until we create the best possible chance. It's a very simple 2-1-2 forecheck. It's a very simple chip off the glass zone exit. It's a very simple stay on the strong side neutral zone. Carolina plays man-on-man D-zone, which is so hard to do. Asking a guy like any defenseman, let's pick Jacob Slavin because he's all world, to not only stay low with your man, but go high and above a circle, covering your same man as they're switching and changing is very uncomfortable for a defenseman. They have a zone they like to play in. They've played in it their whole life. And you got to follow this guy. And now you got to ask a winger to come down low and take that spot the defenseman was in and be in unfamiliar territory as well too. And Rod has created this culture where they know how to do it. But the unfortunate thing is if you get too aggressive or emotional, as you said, and you get out of that for a second, it's over. It will fall apart, which is why so many teams don't do it. I never did it as a coach. I never had the squad, as you will, that would be dedicated enough to it. And that's why I think Stankoven's such a darn good fit for them, because he just came in and went, oh, I see what we're doing here. I get this. This is what I want to do. And they play for each other. I think it was built under the mold of Sebastian Aho. He was the first one, as I say. I think he gets near 10 million for a very good reason. Defensively, very responsible. But you named the penalty in the first game when we were talking on before we came online here. He gets cross-checked and that hurt. And he wants to push back. Oh, that wasn't the time. Take the cross-check, go to the face-off. Because as soon as he got his hand around the back of his head, the ref was looking for a penalty. The refs love this. Like, people may hate referees. Get a referee on your channel. They're brilliant buggers. And they're funny. They're really cool to talk to. Because I tell you what, in that ref's head, he's watching it going, oh, that cross-check hurt. Hold on, where's the retaliation? Got him. And he knows the cross-check's a call. He knows it. He doesn't care. He's like, no, you got baited. Welcome to the game in the game. 2 minutes.
Yep.
So I mean, that's the breakdown of the series for me is it's that aggressiveness. It's that push forward. You know, if they would have stayed in their game, I think they would have had a much better chance to win it. And the series would have gone longer. And you saw it for a few periods in every game. When they got up 2-0 in game 5, I was like, there they are. Yeah. There you go. Welcome to the dance. You guys know how to do this. Yeah. And then a couple goals went in and emotionally they broke and they got out of their system. And it was like, oh no. All right.
Not again.
Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned it. And I pushed back on Brad last week. I'm going to do this. I'm going to ask you to please explain it to me because it's hard to explain to anyone. We get a lot of fans that are relatively new to the game. They're seeing it for the first time and they're loving it. And that's what we enjoy. We enjoy seeing the game through their eyes because it reminds us how much it's why we fell in love with hockey. But I've got a question, okay? The NHL, it seems, and I'll ask you if this happens a lot in junior. I didn't get to see as many junior games as I would have liked to. Why is it that in the NHL, only the best teams of every season do they get the chance to possibly shorten, maybe even something that could end the career of an opposition player and not get called when it would be a call during the regular season. Like if you're just playing regular season, those checks to the back of the head that Aho take, they will be called. Like they'll see it. It happens right in front of them. The series between Tampa and Florida, it was insane. Some of the things they were doing, and no call. And then we turn and talk about player safety, like Sam Bennett, who hits Stollerts in that very discreet kind of way. He did it with Anderson as well. Just a discreet little bump, little bit of a knee. Even Svechnikov did it to Bobrovsky, and he was losing his mind in this series. Why is it that why are there two different penalty or rule books for the game in this season? Because these are the best teams of the season, and now you can take liberties on everyone. I've never understood it. Like, why have the penalty at all? And then just to throw on, if they say you hear, the old time hockey and all the rest of it, like the days of Slapshot from the movie and stuff, and Shoresy, let's throw Shoresy in there because that's exactly it too. They say you got to answer the bell, right? You do something like that hit Aho had on Reinhardt. It was an attempted, it looked like an attempted hip check. He was a tiny bit late. Reinhardt's knees buckle together and he's out. And now Aho is the dirtiest player in the game, and he's public enemy number one for the Panthers, and they go after him hard, like hard. I've never seen the pursuit to a puck by Tkachuk as good as the pursuit he put on Aho, chasing him down off that face-off to feed him the business. But I'm all over the place on this because it's confusing to me, and I've always needed someone to explain it, and no one has ever been able to explain it to me properly. And I'm hoping that you can do it, because by, like they say, answer the bell, that means you got to fight, right? Well, if that's the way you're supposed to solve the problem amongst yourselves, then why is even fighting a penalty anymore? Why is there a match penalty or an instigator or anything? It's so confusing. I'm hoping you can help me.
I'm going to do it. I think I can get us there. And we're going to go backwards to forwards. So let's start with the fight, and then I'm going to take you from your most recent to your backside there. Fighting has become a carnival in hockey. Fighting is required the way the game is refereed today because they haven't changed the game enough to remove fighting. When fighting didn't have an instigator penalty, when you could take your helmet off, there was a code. When that hit on Aho on Reinhardt occurred, before the instigator, before the no helmet removal, you would have dropped your gloves instantaneously. The biggest guy would have found you, and you would have fought, and that would have been it. That was the code. They would have been clear. They would have had a scrap. Everybody would have moved on. Because of these new rules in the last 15 years, I don't know how long it's been the instigator penalty, but it's been a long time now.
Yeah.
You can no longer do that. So players are now incentivized based on the hidden rule book of hockey, and I'll talk about the culture of that in a second, to get you later. And players have lived off it, and players have understood it. Fine. What is punching you in the helmet with a visor going to do other than break my hand? Probably nothing. Look how fast linesmen get in there in fights. They're in there instantaneously. They never used to be. They'd let two guys punch it out, and as soon as a guy hit the ice, they were there to protect your head and make sure the guy didn't kill you by getting on top of you and literally hammer fisting you. That's all they were there to do. Okay, boys, you tired? Good, we're done. Have a good day. Enjoy your 5 minutes. Now that all of that is out of the game, you have to wait to get your licks in, and that's what Tkachuk was waiting to do and why he goons or goes after Aho later. And that's the fault of the NHL. And for some reason, the NHL doesn't want to change that. Junior hockey doesn't want to change that in some leagues right now, and it's frustrating fans. So I will now address the Aho hit on Reinhardt. Never seen a cleaner hit in my life. God, do people get fired up when I say it. But that's a clean hip check. That to me is right at the hips. I think people are underestimating how low the hip is. They're saying, no, that's too low, that's too high, that's too late. Hip checks exist. They're just rare. We've forgotten what they look like. That to me was fine. But there is going to be a response from it. No matter what, any open ice hit is going to be a response. It's just the way hockey has turned into it. In the old time days, let's say the 90s and 2000s where I played, an open ice hit really wasn't met with a fight or anything like that. It was just part of the game. So this whole brouhaha after a big hit, everybody just went, oh, big hit, better get him later. And you'd look to line up a hit, not goon him, or you'd fight him. Anyways, I think that hit was clean as clean could be. Unfortunately, he got hurt. Now let's get into the subculture of the rule book. This is where hockey to me is failing. And I think this is the biggest challenge of hockey. And people who, like me, have watched it their whole career are going to hate hearing it. And that's fine. It's okay. I've always said I'll change when hockey changes. It hasn't changed. The playoffs is a totally different rule book than the regular season, and the only people in on the know of that are the players, the referees, the coaches, and some guys who have played the game at that level or watched it long enough. But it's a very small micro set of all people watching hockey. If we include every player, every super fan, let's say 15% actually get it, in my opinion, and 85%, especially this whole push in the States for new hockey fans over the last 20 years, they look at this and go, well, I'm reading a rule book. It says a cross check is to use two hands on a stick and deliver it to a back. Why is that not a penalty? Oh, because it's in front of the net. Well, what does that change? It's not in the rule book. Yeah, I know, but we consider that a battle. What's a battle? And it just spirals, right? It keeps going. What is this? What is this? So the frustration of fans not getting it, I think, takes people that the game is trying to grow to. They've said it. Gary Bettman said he wants to grow here. And they go, I've watched 4 or 5 of these and I don't get it. And now I'm getting frustrated and angry because it doesn't feel fair. And when things don't feel fair, I get upset. But what I think fans really mean is it doesn't feel just, because hockey is fair. The penalties will be 6-5, 3-3, 2-2 all the time. It's not just because you'll see Aho, who grabs the guy's back of a helmet, which is really a nothing play. No one's going to get hurt there. And he gets 2 minutes. And you see Kachuk pancake a man 2 feet from the boards, from behind, with a stick, head first, wheelchair for your life inbound if that hit goes wrong. And everyone goes, oh, it's a good hockey play.
I was thinking,
and people sit there and go, what is that?
Yeah.
So I get the frustration.
Sorry, I need to jump in. The Jackson Blake, when he was brought head first into the boards. And that's what I was talking about. Penalties that, yes, they gave him a penalty. Yes, they kicked him out. That's fine. But player safety, careers have been shortened by hits exactly like that. And you'll recall Eric Cole, who got drilled into the boards by Orpik. I don't call him that. I don't call him by his real name because I've despised that man for a long time for what he did. Eric Cole's career was shortened. That's just the truth. And if that, I had a flashback. It was like a triggering moment seeing Jackson Blake, a kid, going through the first time, because this is his first experience of it, who is playing phenomenal, who could have had his career ended. Now, he got right up, and that was fine, but that's so dangerous. And then there wasn't even a look at a fine for Losterainen. Not even a look. Where does that fit?
So we can't. I'm going to ask you to take a step back and think, about your own personal spot there. We can't project our own, dad energy, mom energy, caretaker energy upon these players. Jackson Blake isn't a kid. Jackson Blake's a man. I understand in the realm of you and I mean, I'm 39.
Yeah, I'm 54.
He's in his 20s. He's just wants to play this game. I get that. But at the end of the day, this is an adult that's getting millions of dollars to play a game, who has played a game all through junior and college, where the rules are actually very similar and they're not getting money for it. Like we watch junior kids at 16 get hits taken like that for no money on the hope to go into the league to take that hit. And if the players wanted this changed, they would change it. That's the problem. And that's their choice. And I sit back and go, these guys have agreed to this by engaging in it, playing in the game, CBAs, all of this piece. If the players wanted it changed, they would band together as a group. 51% of them is all it takes. They go to their union reps and say, we want more than $5,000 fines. We want fines where if you injure me for 30 games, you lose 30 games. Yeah. What a play that would be. But they don't want it because at the end of the day, when they do it, they don't want to lose their living either. So everybody is so afraid to lose their living, lose what money they've had. They've agreed to play the game this way. They've been brought up on the game this way, so it doesn't change. Jackson Blake knows that hit is possible, and he's known its hit has been possible since 12 years old. So he has to protect himself, and I hate to victim blame. But in hockey, the ref ain't going to protect you. Your teammates might protect you. Only you can protect you. So he's got to have his head on a swivel. He's got to learn to engage differently. He's got to know who's on him, where he is, what position he's put himself on the ice, because it isn't basketball where there's a defined set of rules that don't change. And even if a penalty is called, what is that going to do? And that's how the referees look at it. I don't prevent the play from happening. I just penalize the play after. It would have happened regardless. I've had many of arguments with referees away from the camera where I've said, I disagree with you. You call those penalties a few times, it's out of the game for good. But remember, the referees take the direction from the league. And the league has never, Hockey Canada, Hockey USA, and the NHL have never given that direction. So then for you, me, Brad, and everybody else listening, I say, why stress? The players agreed to it. The CBA is there. The referees are implementing what the league wants. USA and Hockey Canada have decided this is fine. So that's where my sentiment comes from. Get them before they get you. You know what? Screw it. Sometimes the best way to protect yourself is you're coming near me. You're going to hit me. You're going to get my stick to the teeth. Like Shorzy said, I'm going to print Bauer on your bicuspids. I love that line. That one stuck with me because it's the most true thing I have ever heard. And look how many guys do it now. They come in and the stick's immediately up. And I'm like, I don't blame them. You can't punch them. The fighting's out of it. I'm not breaking my hand on your visor. So you know what? Here, CCM, you're sponsored. Take it.
And two things to your point real quick, Ryan. One is, and I maintain the league, as somebody who dislikes ESPN very much, when hockey gets on ESPN, it's fights, controversial hits, crazy goals. So fights and controversial hits are what we're talking about.
Yep.
The league doesn't want to stop that. The league, every time Sam Bennett nicks Stolars accidentally, the league goes, ooh, that probably hurt. Oh, he's concussed. He's throwing up on the bench.
Yep.
That'll be a top 5 on Sports Center. Ching ching. You know what I mean?
And the league doesn't get it. So here's the opposite of the league. They put on the viral moments, as you will. Hits, injuries, goals. Those are viral moments for everybody to click and come in and enjoy the league. Guys like you and me, we go on YouTube, we go on social media, we go to share that click, copyright ban, takedown.
Yeah.
So they won't even let you share it.
Right.
So they're so counterproductive to what they think. They build these viral moments and then they neuter them through blackouts and through not being able to be shown and all this other crap. And then they allow it to happen in the league where their stars get injured. You know, nobody wants to watch a game without Sidney Crosby, Sebastian Aho, Nathan McKinnon. All those guys are up for injury all day, every day because of the game. And no one's going to the game as much as you love Logan Stankoven, and I do too. Very few people are buying a ticket for him. They're buying a ticket to see Slavin. That's who you're buying a ticket for.
Yeah.
But for some reason, the league's got this weird paradox. And it's why I think, and I don't know how many of your guys know it, but English Premier Soccer has passed the NHL in the United States. The NHL is number 5. And it's because people can't, this is just hot take opinion. I find a lot of people are having trouble making sense of it because of the choices the league has made. So for me, who loves this game, I'm all for change all the time. if they're not going to change, I'm just going to try to help people on my channel emotionally get over the hump of the frustration that it comes through, so we can all get to the wonderful part of the game that the three of us cover, which isn't just the goals, the highlights, the hits, and the BS. It's the beauty of watching the intricacies of this game. It is the highest skill game on the planet. They are skating with 2 knife blades on their skates per skate, because there's an inside edge, outside edge, 2 knives on your skates with a weapon in your hand, on an ice surface where you are hydroplaning. You're not cutting into the ice, you're creating hydroplaning because of how fast you're going. It's the only sport in the world where you push laterally. Think about this one. Go dry land train and run. Your knee goes north to south and you're using your butt muscles. Go play hockey, you push left to right. And a lot of new fans to this game don't realize you don't run and skate the same way. You push lateral, which is groin muscle and different muscles in there. You can't train that outside of hockey. The best way to get good at hockey is play hockey. That's it. It doesn't change to any sport. I know a ton of athletes that play hockey and are great hockey players and suck at everything else. But I know a lot of great baseball players that can play every sport, track and field, baseball, football, because it's all run, jump, throw.
Yep.
I think the NHL as a whole needs to get to that part of the beauty that people love. We watch the Olympics. None of that garbage is in it. It's so highly viewed. People love it. So I don't know why everybody's so scared to get away from it. But we are. And now we're in a spot for the playoffs. And I just want fans to know, if you want your team to get there, being like the Florida Panthers or the St. Louis Blues, who were out in round 1, but gave the Jets a hell of a beating.
Yes, they did.
That'll get you far. Yeah. And everybody can draft a player like it, and everybody can find a way to get a team like that. So if you can't beat them, join them and beat them.
Yeah. We love our short kings, but we need a 2C. What we really need is a 1C to let Aho be a 2C, but there's not available. So we need a 2C, but I want him to be like 6'5" and like 230 pounds and mean as all hell. But
everybody
a hashtag that I use is best sport, worst league, because I love hockey, and not just NHL hockey. I like the junior Hurricanes were playing a tournament. I took my son to see the junior Hurricanes, right? We go watch the local high school team plays less than a mile from my house. We go watch them. I love PWHL. I love hockey.
I like the NHL. So good.
I love the Hurricanes. I like the NHL. I love the PWHL because of these missteps. And like you said, why I live out of market, so I pretty much get 95% of the games via ESPN Plus.
Yep.
But I don't get the games that are on national TV unless I have cable, and I don't get the games that are on NHL Network. Why do I have to have 3 packages to see all the games? Like you said, the league takes a step forward and does something cool. And then they take 3 steps back. 4 Nations, super cool. I was there. Finland, Canada, amazing. There were people who that was their first hockey game that I talked to, who were like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen live.
Hockey to me is it's a lot like politics, and I don't want to go into that at all. It's just, it's controlled by a lot of old rich dudes who have old rich dude ways of doing things. And there's lobbying that occurs in it. And those companies, those media companies, ESPN, Sportsnet, TNT, it doesn't matter who it is. They have a way of doing business. They're not trying to grow the game. They're trying to survive in a market where streaming is killing them. And piracy is coming back bigger than ever because streaming is getting stupid now. So more people have Amazon Fire Sticks and watch this for $10 a month as their buddy steals it, like the old DirecTV satellite days, than actually watch it properly. They won't let influencers share the game using fair use to grow the game like basketball will, because they have to protect these $12 billion media rights. So to me, it's just, they haven't found a way to think long term. And frankly, why would they? They're all like 65 to 100 years old and they're going to die tomorrow probably.
Yeah. And they're
like
all,
Gary
Gary
Bettman,
they could spend.
Why is he still the commissioner? Seriously.
Like, that's because the owners like what he does. He does what the owners want. I mean, anytime people complain about Bettman, I say the same thing. Bettman's doing exactly what he's been told to do.
Exactly.
What amazes me is nobody in the NHL. I mean, you're probably just old enough. Ray and I probably remember pre-iTunes Music.
Oh man,
I pirated everything.
Guys, Napster, I lived on Napster.
All those things. Right?
Lived on it.
Then Apple comes out, and instead of charging you $3 or $4 a song, they're like, for $1, you can buy any one song you want. You don't need to buy the album. And what happened? everybody I know, for the most part, like 90%, stop pirating music because they're like, for $1, I'll just buy it legally and I own it. And now, and the NHL hasn't figured that out. Like, give people an NHL streaming service that's $20 a month that covers all games. Get out of this. I know the deals with the regional sport networks with blackouts and things. Like, get past that. Yep. For $20 a month, you can watch or $25 a month, you can watch every NHL game. Like the old idea of like the center ice package, right? Which was $150 for the whole season. Well, for $25 a month, you're going to be making like $200 a season, but make it easy. Because if it's easy and it's not crazy expensive, people will pay. I would. I mean, I watch PWHL games in part because they smartly said, in the US, we're going to partner with YouTube. Games on, just go to YouTube. It's there. It's free. Yep. Here you go. And the NHL can't do that, but to make it that accessible is what they're missing.
I love watching best on best. So when I watch the PWHL and the fact that they have a 3-2-1 point system, they're not afraid to be innovative. They're doing all the things we always wanted to talk about as fantasy GMs about the NHL. You can watch that over there because they're taking feedback and they're trying it and you're seeing it work. I mean, it is growing. Is it going to beat the male game? That's not a thing we're going to step into here, but it's growing and the NHL should take note of it. I don't know why, and I don't believe in borders when it comes to sports. Why do you want to have local blackouts, local regions? You know what? If people want to watch the Hurricanes and they end up more popular than the Rangers, great. If the Hurricanes lose half their fan base because people now can all of a sudden watch Boston and New York play, well, then that incentivizes Carolina to put a better product on the ice. Like to just capture this local network and not let go, it's so ridiculous. And I don't think they would lose it because the junior Hurricanes are a thing. There are so many kids. We all grow up and become fans for one or two reasons. The biggest reason, statistically, is who our dads cheer for. And they specifically mention dads. The second biggest reason is who your mom cheers for. So your parents together are the biggest reason you become a fan. The second biggest reason, it's the local market. We love going to the bar, to school, and seeing our friends and being on the team. And I would argue the fans are actually the only ones on the team because every other player is transient and moves through. It's a business, but we're with the team for life. So if those are your two biggest reasons, your parents in the local market, what are we afraid of? Let the one guy wear a Rangers jersey in Carolina and move on. It'll be fine. Let him go watch the Rangers. Who cares? So I'm with you on all this stuff. I would love that to be seen, but it's just that interesting game within the game that we get to watch. And I think it all comes back to your original question about, why do these rule books and that change? Because the game is just the way it's always been. There's that hidden rule book for fans. There's that hidden way to play it. And it's good stuff. I just want to educate people on what that book is. So they sit back and go, oh, now I know what my team's trying to do, or now I know what my team should do. And you guys mentioned some names. I'm not going to say the future of hockey because it's always changing, but every team right now, they want Brady Tkachuk, Matthew Tkachuk, and Tom Wilson. You want a first-line player that is tough as nails, that's a little bit psychopathic, because when those guys see red, and I'm not saying it lightly, when Tom Wilson sees red, he's going to bury you. He's not there better be a linesman there. He will absolutely end you when he sees red. He has no feelings at that point. I've played against guys like him, not him. But I've played against guys that when they snap, watch out. They don't feel pain. It is what it is. And what makes Wilson scary, like Tkachuk, like the Tkachuks, is when their headspace isn't in that spot, they're going to score goals on you. They're going to score 40.
Yeah.
And you go this isn't fair. I can't put out Ryan Reeves against you because you're going to make him look stupid in terms of hockey playing because Reaver's a little older now. Maybe young Ryan had a shot. But there's no answer. The only answer to Wilson is Tkachuk. The only answer to Tkachuk is Brady Tkachuk. And then you're kind of out of names. Who else we got? Brandon Hagel, kind of.
Yeah.
Evander Kane, kind of. I don't know. Throw some names out there. It's not many, but you need them.
No.
You know what? So this is so great. And like I said, I knew that there's a different book. I knew that, I've never understood it, but that there's a different book. You know that it's there, and you try to understand it. And I tried to call, I was about to say, Brad Brad put out a t-shirt with our logo on it, and like it says, best sport, worst league.
I've seen it.
And he's like, I was like, that's brilliant. I was going to out him on the show just in case you hadn't known that that's what he says. And it was like,
sale, if you're listening.
Exactly, if you want. It just so tremendous. And oh man, we've gone through so much. Okay, so
Ray is where I can wrap you up there on it.
Sure.
Carolina needs to not change the game next year. They need to stay between the man and the puck, and they need to not get over aggressive because they don't have those players we just talked about. And we know there's that book in the book. So instead of going out and trying to get over aggressive and cross checking first, they almost got to take the page out of Ali or Rocky's book. Take the hits, take the cross checks, know it's coming. That's fine. Let it come. Stay between your man and the net. Carolina needs to take a step forward on figuring out how to get better net front presence 5-on-5 in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And the second thing they have to figure out, and this is a coaching GM piece, you got to find a way to get that power play going. That power play has to score. You will never win a game unless you're the 2011 Boston Bruins, which is the outlier. You need to find a player that will make that power play hum, or a new coach, not Brindamore, because there's a special teams coach. I don't know who he is. You guys will. Maybe a new coach needs to come in with a different power play mindset because you got to score. When I watched the Winnipeg Jets this year, the number one team in the NHL in the power play in the regular season, they went to 16% in the playoffs. Out, they're done. They lost. That was a 14% swing. You score on the power plays that you get, you win the game because each team's getting 4, maybe 5, maybe 3, but that game in the game, you need, if you have a 50% power play, you score 2 out of 4, that's your game. You've won it.
Yeah.
And if you find a way to kill 3 out of 4 or hell, 4 out of 4, that's all she wrote. The game's over.
Right.
You're up 2.
And that's the thing
they got 0.
Carolina can do consistently, right? The penalty kill this year, every year, like they have like a couple of games where they lapse, but then they get it together. But normally that penalty kill's in the 88, 89%. I mean, that's close to a record almost every year. For us, we've said, so Jeff Daniels and Timmy Gleason have been the assistants the whole time Rod has been there. They all played together, like they know each other. And people are like, fire Jeff Daniels. Well, Jeff Daniels doesn't always run the power play. Timmy Gleason does a lot of that too. They're not going to, because part of Rod's contract negotiations take a long time have been take care of my assistants first. And when their deals are in place, then we'll talk. So I've been advocating for you bring in somebody that Rod respects, but will not be a yes man. Somebody who will push Rod and say, hey, Rod, I think you're thinking about this wrong. And I don't know if that's a Justin Williams type or, because he might even be too close at this point, having, been a special assistant to the president. But there's got to be somebody out there who can bring in some power play expertise and push back on Rod's blind spots.
Yeah.
But as a coaching question, Carolina puts up regular season 40 shots on goals a game. In the playoffs, call it 30 because things tighten up. I don't understand how our power play goes from a team who's consistently among the shot leaders in the league, and then they get on the power play and they take one shot. And not because there's only one shot available, but it just becomes an umbrella passing scheme around the outside looking. And I think they're just looking for perfection instead of good. But it drives me insane because I go, even if that's what the players are doing, the coaches are letting them do it. So how does a team whose philosophy is shot volume get on the power play and suddenly the philosophy is not shot volume? Do you have any thoughts about what could be? I mean, I know you're not in the locker room, but do you have anything that just could be like, well, maybe this?
I have lots of thoughts, and they're all going to be wrong, but they're going to sound so good. So
you bring it.
Yeah, I'll take it.
The power play is about getting the right shot, not the most amount of shots. So their philosophy is correct. When you have a man up, you're looking for basically 2 types of shots. You're looking for that pass to the shooter, if you're thinking a 1-3-1 or the old school umbrella. Some people call them the same thing, but a 1-3-1 is different. That's your static power play. You get it over to a shooter. And a shooter on one of the walls is either going to take a one-timer and put it in via Alexander Ovechkin, Zibanejad, Line, those types of players. And that's a very deadly way to go if you have a shooter that can make that shot. Not every shooter can, because you really do still have to put it into quite a tight space. That's why Ovechkin's had such a great career doing that, amongst many other things. Carolina doesn't have a player like that. That's fine. It doesn't mean you don't take that shot. It just means that shouldn't be your primary go-to. So your second alternative from a static power play is to move it to a bumper. That's the guy in the middle. And there's two ways you can get to the bumper. You go to the shooter and get it to the bumper immediately, and that slight angle change allows that snapshot or wrist shot from the middle to go in. And then you have your guy in front who puts in the secondary rebound, but more likely you go down to the low guy who then comes up to the bumper in the middle and gets a shot, and everybody crashes the net and puts it in. Carolina didn't spend enough time getting that puck. They just didn't have the confidence, in my opinion, as a player. When they got the shot to the place they needed it, they didn't shoot. So you guys were bang on. Shoot the puck. You worked so hard to get it to that bumper. Shoot, send 3 guys to the net. That's what I meant by net front presence. Like, that's the purpose here. So don't look for the perfect shot. Just take it now. You've gotten it into a danger zone, which is between the circles. Fire the biscuit. See what happens. Get everybody to the net and crash. The second thing Carolina is really good at, it's a new power play system in the last 3 years. It's an old one called the overload that we had like 20 years ago, but they've now incorporated it into the 1-3-1, where when the players get moving, there's a lot of switching, there's a lot of rotating. You overload all 5 players on one side with 3 down low, and they start moving the puck with micro passes. And the whole point of that overload is to get a shot, not even the perfect shot, and have 3 or 4 guys ready to pounce on rebounds or backdoors in front of the net. And when they got into their overload system, it almost looked like they were so impressed that they were moving the puck that they forgot to shoot. So I think you guys are right. They got to shoot. But there's only 2 ways to do it as a coach. One, every day in practice, you rip this out and you get everybody out there and you scream at the top of your lungs with a whistle of when to shoot. They get moving and you blow that whistle real hard when they don't take a shot and go, what are you doing? And you run it again and you run it again and you run it again until finally guys are shooting the puck without thinking. And that's how you start to build confidence. The second way you can do it, and that's how you manufacture one, is you go find a player or 2 that have that power play swagger. And I don't know if Carolina has that right now. You need that guy that just, you see him all over the league. They shoot from anywhere, everywhere, and it's a great shot, and they have so much confidence in themselves, and you put it in the back of the net. A free agent that's going to be available and probably won't come to Carolina, no offense, is Mitch Marner. Yeah. That's a guy I would pay any amount of money right now. And people are real ragging on him. I would give him $12 million all day, every day to bring him onto my team if I was the Jets or the Canes. What do you need to come here to bring your swagger and your shot? I saw it in the Four Nations when he fed McDavid. And I've seen him put 35 goals in. What do you need to come here? Because he plays a lot harder than people give him credit for. I do think it was more of a Matthews challenge in Toronto than it is a Marner challenge. And I thought we saw it at the Four Nations. There's other guys that are going to come available that are low-key good at it, like a Chris Kreider. I don't know why, but like the guy tends to score. It's garbage, but he scores, and you love it. Go find a guy like that. I'd have to sit here and go through all the free agents. You guys can throw some names out there too, but they really got to get a guy with a little bit of swagger there. Jarvis actually might be that guy. He's still growing. Like, I look at the roster and go, that could be a guy that turns into that. Jackson Blake. And
this is his second season with a shoulder injury too. He re-injured that shoulder, so he's been playing with a bum shoulder again for an entire season.
Yep.
I mean, we still haven't seen 100% Jarvis in the playoffs yet, which is phenomenal.
Seth plays hard. He plays that style everybody likes. He engages. He's not a big man, and he takes hits. And that that hit he took from Trouba and that second hit, who clipped him this year?
Oh. It was the Australian, wasn't it? Or no? Or was it Mikkola?
It was. It was. The little shoulder came up there. The one thing Seth's got to do is he's got to take care of himself a little better. He reminds me a lot of Cole Perfetti on the Jets. Like, just be aware, man. Like, you're 180 pounds with rocks in your pocket and you are tough as nails. And he is. He is so freaking tough. But like, you got a career to worry about too. Sometimes you got to like watch that brain, watch that shoulder. You'll have 20 years in front of you and a lot of Stanley Cups, but you got to survive out there, and he's got to protect himself too. And so does Blake from those types of hits, and they'll learn. I think they'll come through. These aren't permanent injuries, but yeah, if I'm Carolina, that's the only thing I'm looking to change this year. I would change nothing other than, can I find a piece or 2 out there that helps me on the power play? Everything else, I'd run it right back.
Agreed. Selfish hockey. I keep saying I love our team dynamic, Give me one selfish guy who just wants the puck on his stick and will shoot every time, because you don't want a team full of those, right? But one, I'd like one.
Yep. Yeah. And I hear the New York Rangers are sick of Zibanejad. I don't know if it's true, but I hear they're sick of him. He's got a wicked shot from that shooter position. I don't know if he fits Carolina's like team structure, but neither does Kotkaniemi. And he doesn't cost you anything. KK doesn't ruin anything for anybody. He's an interesting fit for Carolina, but he doesn't scream Hurricane to me. I thought it was really
he's just
funny.
in the wrong role. They're still trying to make him a 2C, and he's a 3C, but Stahl has 2 more years. I think if he was a 3C, people would stop wanting to trade him.
Yep. Yeah. I don't think you're going to trade him. His contract is probably untradeable, and you did a lot to get him. There was the social media buzz and that. There's no reason to. He's got talent. But a guy like Zibanejad may be a fit. You take it on the shoulder and you put him on the third line or the second line. You pay him the overpay amount of money that you're going to have to overpay for him. But now you've got a power play guy. You got a wicked shot on that far circle, and that gives you a different look. And that might be the other alternative they could do is, instead of looking to a power play guy, you could look to a few bigger bruiser style guys that may come available. I know he's not available, but I think of Buchnevich off of the Blues. There's a lot of players that play like him. Go find a guy like that that's cheap on your second, third line that can play at some speed and really, really turn a series with a few big hits. Not a fourth line guy. He's got to play a little higher than that. So that's another strategy they could take, is they could try to get tougher. But I don't think they should. If it was me, if I was playing fantasy GM, I'd be looking for a power play guy.
And there was 2 things that I wanted to say. When you mentioning other people, I'm not really interested in it. I really hope they go all in for Marner. And the reason why I want them to go in for Marner is not only the talent and the skill that he has and displays and what we all saw at Four Nations. He's a 200-foot player too. Yep. He like that speaks to my heart. Guys like that, my favorite player ever in the league, and I don't care. I still think he's the best. It was Ron Francis, because he was up and down the ice. He had unbelievable talent. He played a 200-foot game that you could put in any situation. And that's why I love Aho as much as I do, because you can do the same thing for him. And it's just amazing. And I have another 1,000 questions that we'd love to ask you, but we know you have to get going. You've been so generous with your time, Coach. Thank you so much. Plug your YouTube channel once again, please, because people need to see it. They need to experience what we've had just a small taste of.
Well, come find me at Hot Garbage Sports. We'll talk about the Canes 4 or 5 times in the offseason minimum. We'll talk about every team there. But we're just going to talk hockey in general. I think there's a lot of content out there that, even if you're not necessarily a Canes fan, we're going to talk about NHL. We're going to have a lot of tier lists and rankings, so you can find where I put, the man, the myth, the legend, Jacob Slavin himself. I'm sure Seth Jarvis might make an appearance there too, and Aho. So come check it out. And I'll tell you, I ended up on this podcast. You guys are great guys, but I ended up here because of all the love I got from the Canes fans on my channel. So I've talked with the Joes twice, you guys. It's quietly becoming a little bit of a second home away from Winnipeg, and I've dealt with more Carolina media than Winnipeg media. So that's all on the fans' backs of the Caniacs. So I'll go where I'm asked to be. And if this is where I'm asked to be, that's great. So thanks for having me, guys. I have to run and enjoy my 12 minutes of summer. So
there you go.
Thank you for all the time that you spent with us. Appreciate it, Ryan.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Cheers. Brad, how good does it get?
Amazing.
Honestly, how good does it get? This is, and again, we were mentioning, hundreds of other questions. You know what I mean? Like,
you could spend hours with him and pick his brain.
Could.
I mean, clearly knows what he's talking about. Clearly has a different perspective because he can give us. People are always like, "Well, what do you know? You're not Rod Brindamore." Well, he's not Rod Brindamore, but he's literally a Hockey Canada approved high level coach. So he can really say, well, I can't tell you what Rod would do, but I can tell you what I would do, right? The only thing I disagree with him on, and I disagree not strongly, would be Mitch Marner.
There
my
you
only
go.
problem my only problem with Mitch Marner is he's 6 foot even. He's less than 200 pounds, right?
Yeah.
So he is a 200-foot guy. He's not tiny, but he's not big. 2 goals in the playoffs, 17 assists.
Right.
Awesome. What did we just say we need, though? We need a guy who's going to score goals. So if they brought in Marner, I would be ecstatic. He's not my target, though, because he's not selfish hockey. Like, he's, even in the regular season, like, he had 27 goals. Not bad.
Yeah.
But, like, would kill for another 40 goal scorer. Would kill for a 50. You know what I mean? Like, that's my only reservation is Marner brings to you a higher level of what you have. And I feel like we need something a little different, but that's the only thing. But even his rationale makes sense, right? Like, if you bring in Marner, you're a better team. Like, no question.
Could Jarvis be the shooter?
Jarvis can be the shooter. I think Jarvis
that's the thing. Like,
grow exponentially.
Yeah, like maybe we have the shooter already, and we just don't know it. Like, you saw Jackson Blake all season long. Super high hockey IQ, ridiculously high.
Also could be your shooter.
Also could be the shooter. You know, I sure hope that we made an impression well enough with him to have him back, because
I'd love to have him back.
We got maybe
we just scratched the surface, right?
1/100th of what we could have asked him and so forth. I needed to get his information about how he deals with media. You know what I mean? How do you deal with, the parents? Because the parents is a whole other situation for coaches, right?
Yeah.
Like and especially the media one. This was great. The post game 5. And someone's got the nerve to say to Rod, so, you've had this success and you've gotten this far. Getting over the hump has been tough and stuff. Does it ever make you question your style of play and the way you do things? And you think you should change it? And Rod immediately says, you got some suggestions?
I thought that was
like, you're the smart guy. You tell me, and like threw it right back in his face, like,
which is fair. As a guy who asked that kind of question of Rod and would happily ask it to his face, it's totally fair.
Yeah, right? Like I was like, this is, and you know what? That's another question that we could have had for Coach, was the word culture. When you try to develop it, what is within all of that? You know what I mean? Like, we see it, we throw the word around, and maybe we use it in the wrong text, in the wrong structure. You know what I mean? Like, we know what we see.
Yeah.
We know how it looks. And I'm thankful that, there was a lot of times where I felt like breaking my arm, patting myself and you on the back, because he said a lot of things that we have said in the past and have thought about. Now, my whole thing, that my hang up that I've had for so many years, the 2 different rule books, you know what? He did explain it. I did understand it. And, when he brings up the CBA and the fact that these are negotiations that all the players have a word in as well. And if they're okay with it, we, the fans, have to be okay with it. We have to understand, no matter how unjust it is. And he used that word so beautifully. Like,
I was just going to comment that of all the smart, intelligent things he has said on his channel that I've seen and what he said today, I think that one will stick with me more so than some of the others.
Yeah.
It's, we're not looking for fair, we're looking for just. And
yes.
Particularly with people who, and I think a lot of hockey fans fall in this category of like neurodivergence. People who are on the, autism scale, people who have ADHD or ADD. One of the common traits to those a lot of times is an adherence to rules and justice.
Yes.
And when you don't see justice because you're like, hey, what's going on? I like that. It's not about fair, because we both know that I've always thought it like there's a separate rule book that only the refs know for the off season. But why are they letting this go but not that go? Why aren't they calling this way versus those things? And I liked what he said was, we're not looking for fair, because for better or for worse, they're kind of calling things fairish. Normally they're bad, but they're bad on both sides. But he's right. It's, when Aho gets cross-checked multiple times, we know that's a penalty. It's let slide. Aho retaliates. He's the only one who goes to the box. Or when William Carrier gets punched in the face and gets 2 minutes for roughing.
Yeah.
That is not just.
No.
And it's true. I don't care about fair. I want just. Like, how does he get called for getting punched in the face? Like, that can't be a penalty. And yet it was called a penalty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
taking a penalty for being punched in the face, it was like you're being penalized for not defending yourself, for not.
And that's why I said, I think last episode, that throw hands. If they're gonna call you for taking a punch in the face, Carrier, you're a big boy. Chuck him.
Who I would trust to chuck knuckles. I would trust him to do that.
Or light him up. Wait 4 or 5 shifts and light him up.
Yeah.
For Hurricanes fans who listen to us, new and old, I will say that I think Coach Ryan's channel, Hot Garbage Sports, is a good mix for anyone who follows hockey.
Yep.
Because he breaks plays down, he puts things in boxes, he draws arrows, which makes it super simple for newer fans to understand when he's talking about, like, the F1, the F2, the F3, or a 1-2, 2-2, or the 1-3-1 on the power play. However, it's not so simple. Like, the analysis is very straightforward, but it's not simple. So even if you understand hockey and you see it, you can watch back and you probably are saying the same thing in your head that Ryan is saying on his channel. But I think that also is him pointing out, well, these are the things I saw that maybe even an experienced hockey fan may not say, oh, I didn't see it that way, or I didn't see it. So I think he's probably my favorite hockey follower right now on YouTube, ahead of Shannon, we know is collectively is the hockey guy.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Shannon's great because Shannon's going to tell you what he thinks, and he's really unbiased for the most part, I think. And I think Coach Ryan is in that vein of people that you can watch and you don't have to, like, if you watch his video, the last one he made before his vacation of game 1,
yeah,
he was like, I don't think the Hurricanes played all that bad. Like, here's what I think they did wrong, but it wasn't horrible, right? And he broke down, this is why. And I was like, yeah, he's right. Like, I should have watched that sooner. I should have watched it right after game 1. I mean, it would have probably made me feel better, So
yeah, exactly. And Rod said game 1 he was happy with. Like, game 2, abomination. Like, that was awful. But Rod also said that the game 1 wasn't all that bad. And like you say, he was throwing it back, and he throws it back at the reporter and says, the way Florida plays is the way we've played forever. And it's the truth.
Yep.
It's the truth. They adopted the Canes style and have refined it a little. Moreover, they have the players that play that edge, that play that aggressive, that know how to work the system, know how to work that second rule book, and they're mean as heck. The nicest guys off the ice, but drop the puck and holy cow, And
I think that's really it is. Their offensive system is almost identical to ours.
Yep.
But, just think of tug of war. If you have 2 teams that have equal aggression, and one of them is 4 inches taller across the line and 40 pounds heavier, yeah, they're probably going to win because, and that's where I love all the short kings we have on the team, but find me a 2C with size. Find me somebody KK sized who can score.
Yeah.
And find me somebody to be the power play guy. Now, if that's somebody already on the team, fine, but turn them loose. Find them. More than 3 passes on the power play is a fine. When I was taught basketball by Dean Smith at UNC at camp, you pass the ball at least 3 times before you're allowed to shoot. And the Hurricanes need the opposite. If you pass the puck more than 3 times and haven't taken a shot, you skate.
Yeah. There's one thing that I want to get through here at the end, because I know we got to get going too. It's been a long show, but it's worth pointing out. Despite all of the disappointment and pain that we felt, knowing that, Eastern Conference, we got that one win. It's not something to celebrate. Just like the players all said, the Eastern Conference final wasn't the goal. That's just not and Rod mentioned it about Fishy. It's going to eat him up all summer. It's going to eat him up and it's going to eat up a lot of guys all summer. You could hear that in Orlov's voice on his exit interview.
Aho straight out calling out the whole front office. I mean,
yeah, it was great. Everything was great. But we also have to remember the one thing that Rod was very thankful for. I talked about the question that he threw back at someone. He said, you got any ideas on how we could play better? You tell me, right? But he also thanked a different reporter for pointing something out that we have said, but the pain and emotion of having your team beaten out and not, getting to the top of the mountain is this. And I didn't realize this at the time until he said it. There were doubts everywhere about how well we would do. You and I kind of said in the Metro, I think, at least a wild card. At least. Like that's
we were making the playoffs. We said that from preseason.
Yeah, but we weren't thinking, number 2 with almost 100 points. We just weren't.
No.
Rod came into this season and didn't believe that they would make the playoffs. His words.
Yep.
He didn't think with what they had that they were even going to make the playoffs. That floored me. That floored me that Rod said it like that. And that's why he said immediately to the guy, thank you. Thank you. These guys did skate through walls for me and for it. They have the passion, and they did something that no one thought that was possible, even myself. There's reason to feel good. There's reason to look at the future of this team and that huge cap space that we're going to have and all of the options. And a guy like Tulsky, who we had the coach reaffirm with us that we won the trade.
I don't think there's any question.
And it's just, that's all there is to it. It was brilliant. So
we've been talking on social media real quick, Ray, just about that. Dallas has $4 million in cap space and 8 players to resign. 8 players and $4 million.
How is that going to happen?
Good luck. Somebody has to leave. And with DeBoer throwing Ottinger under the bus, Man, I would like to have Otter in Carolina using Dallas's own picks, going back the other way. Have you ever seen Rounders? Have you ever seen Rounders?
I have seen Rounders. Yeah.
At the end where he's playing against Teddy KGB and he wins, and Teddy's like, "It's fine. I'm paying you with your own money anyway." And he's like, "I should have walked away." And Teddy's like, "Yeah." He's just drilling him, right? "Oh, I paid you. I won 35. I gave you back, 20. I've still got 15,000 of your money."
Yeah.
And that's what makes him mad, right? I would love to do that to the Dallas Stars. And if it's not Ottinger, somebody's gonna have to go. Sagan, maybe. I mean, I don't know. There's possibilities. There's all I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Well, and it's the same. It's kind of the same with Toronto. They have a different situation because, their fans, that spotlight is so bright, and they've built on the core four. And what has it gotten them? Like, they have to change. And do you blow it all up? Well, no, I don't think you blow it all up, because they still have success. But hard questions that they have. Who are they going to really go after? Who do they keep? Who did they let go? And
they have 25 million.
Yeah, but Treliving was talking about this yesterday, and he's like, "We've talked with all of them, but there's some big decisions."
They need to sign 4 forwards who are UFAs, 3 RFAs, a 7th D-man, including, you're going to have to either sign or replace Pacioretty, Tavares, Marner, Lawrence, Holmberg, Robinson, and Nyes on 25 million. And if you want Marner, that's half of that.
At least. And Nyes is one they don't want to let go. I'm telling you right now.
And he is a restricted, so he's not going to, but Nyes' last contract was, it was a baby contract, right? $925,000.
Yeah.
But he's a non-arbitration eligible RFA. But what is he gonna get? Looking at, he's gonna get some bucks.
He's going to, and deserves it. He was someone who really shone. That, like I said, with Dallas, you mentioned, pulling Ottinger out of there and giving them their own, but I'm like, I just thought of The Simpsons. Stop. He's already dead.
No.
Just give it to him.
Beat that horse to death.
Yep.
Take them both. Say, we'll give you both your first round picks back and maybe some other compensation, because Dallas doesn't have a first round pick for 3 years.
That's crazy.
And they don't have a second round pick, I think, for 2 years. They have completely, for a guy who's supposed to be GM of the year again.
Yeah.
Unless another team bails them out, and for once let the Hurricanes be the one who bails them out.
Yeah.
They are toast for the next, 5 years or more is not, they've out of the realm of possibilities, because they have no first round picks. Their prospect pool is fairly empty. They have no cap space.
Yeah.
Florida's in almost the same boat. They have almost no AHL contracts of anybody who's good. I think they have 20 something million.
Yeah.
But they have like 7 guys to sign. Like, it's just, Matthew Nyes was a 58.29 goal scorer in the regular season.
Yeah.
So if you re-sign Marner and him, which is, if I'm Toronto, that's probably who I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Unless I can sign and trade Marner and bring in something of value. Of your 25 million? What is that? 18?
That's at least 18.
19 million?
Yeah.
And then you still have like 4 positions you have. Not even 4. That would give you 2. That means you would have 3 RFAs and 3 UFAs to deal with $6 million.
And Tavares is one of them.
And Tavares, I wouldn't re-sign Tavares.
You know what?
I know he had a good season, but he's 34.
No, agreed. But Dangle was talking about Treliving as well, and he said, and Treliving said that they had good long talk with Tavares, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was like the message inside the message. What
Right.
There's times where what you're saying, it's supposed to mean one thing, but how you're saying it is saying something else.
Yep.
And it felt like there was a lot more interested in signing, Tavares, right? Like they realized, oh, we had a, good sit down and stuff. And that's their choice, right? Like
Tavares was $11 million. So a team friendly deal, it's still going to be close to half of your cap room, unless he just takes the mother of all pay cuts. I mean, if he comes back for $5 million a year and takes a 50% cut, you do it. But
that's not just a haircut. That's just getting shaved bald.
Well, yeah.
Honestly,
I'm nice.
Yeah. No, but you make a point. You make a good point. There are certain teams that are in good positions, and there are others that are in dreadful positions, no matter that the cap is going up or not.
Yeah.
And to circle back to the point that I was going to make is this. It hurts now.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks. I hate losing to the Panthers. Bennett makes me nuts. Don't get me started on Marchand. But this team was amazing. They delivered. They gave us what we wanted. They kept the passion here. And we saw mid-season the type of brains that we have running it, who won the Rantanen trade despite all the craziness. And we've got a full storage shelf, you know what I mean, of talent that's coming up and ready to go.
The Hurricanes might be the best placed team for the next 3 or 4 years.
Absolutely.
Between the young guys, because you still haven't brought up Fuss, you still haven't brought up Nadeau. Nikishin will get a full season. Morrow will get a full season. Blake will get a second season. You have 3 first-round picks. We have 2 next year and 2 the year after and 1 or 2 the year. I mean, loaded. Just snake oven. Everything is in great position. You're right. I think next week we're going to try and have on Luke DeCock.
Oh,
and
that would be nice.
We'll do a post-mortem on the season, I think, at that time. And then maybe I don't know, maybe depending on if he's there or not, we'll get into like player grades and things. The Hurricanes are as well positioned as anybody in the league.
Yeah.
So feel good about that, Caniacs, because for me, going into the season, I said, look, they're going to be at least a wild card team. There's no way they fall below Montreal and Columbus, and it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Once they got off to the hot start, expectations for me rose. Okay, well, they're better than we thought they were going to be. The expectation now is you need to get in the playoffs and win a round.
Yeah.
Right? Then they went through the slump and went, that's still the expectation. Like they're better than they're playing.
Yeah.
The fact they got back to an Eastern Conference Finals, they got this stupid 1 win to get the dumb monkey off their back.
Yeah.
Which was just a ridiculous thing, especially the people stretching it back to 2009 when Paul Maurice was still the coach. Like, look, it's, yes, it's a mental thing. They got to win. Fine. Next year, come back. And to Coach Ryan's point, you can get tougher, which is what I was advocating, or you had a goal scorer. And I don't know that the person exists out there. I got to look, but like, why can't you do both? It's like the girl with the taco commercial. Like, can we have both?
Yeah.
Like, why can we? Well, let's upgrade. Like, Robinson looks like he's having good discussions. I really hope Burns and Orlov are gone, and all the best to them. But Morrow and Nikishin should serve you well. And we talked with Coach Ryan about open ice hits. Nikishin's an open ice hit monster. Like, wait until people get mad at him throwing hip checks. So Things look good. Things look good, Caniacs. We're in good shape. So
they absolutely do.
We've really gone long today.
Yeah. Well, no, and we have, and you know, like I said, it's the salve, right? Like the burn, the pain is still there, but remember, it's going to heal, and thankfully, we're going to get better. I think of it not so much as the salve. Think of it as, and I'm going to go way, way back. Some of you think of it as being the $6 million man, right? You're injured, you're hurt, but we'll build you again, better, stronger, faster. Like that's what we're gonna do. And if you don't know what the $6 million man is for our young people who are out there, you'll have to look it up. But you'll understand what I'm saying. And that's where we're at. Brad, you were brilliant in landing Coach Ryan.
Oh, yes.
Landing him like, wow. And we didn't get a chance to ask him. I hope we can have him back on again. I mean, the man is busy enough, I understand. But like there was questions.
Maybe he'll have some time because I would love to pick his brain stylistically, like from a coaching perspective for sure.
Yeah. But then there's the crazy questions that I want to ask him, like, you know, how close is Shoresy to the real thing?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when you describe terrible coaches, what makes a terrible coach? Is it the one that peels paint? Is it the one that's kicking the garbage can, you know, in Letterkenny down the hall all the time? Like, or what is it? Like, where do you find the line? Like, there's just so many questions that he could answer now that we know he's part of the Illuminati of coaches. Like, that is something special. So good on you for landing him. And we didn't even get a chance to ask him about Jarvis when he was a kid.
Yeah. We'll have to.
You know what I mean? Like we've got so much.
And I didn't realize he was on with the OG podcast twice. So I haven't heard the second one. So he did go into some of that when he was on their podcast as well. So
yeah, check it out. Check him out. Check us out. We'll check out. But we can't check out until we do one last thing. Go Canes.
Go Canes.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Ray and I greatly appreciate your support in helping us produce an informative and fun podcast. As always, we'd like to say that we believe hockey is for everyone. Whether you're a Caniac or a bunch of jerks, doesn't matter, as we're just a couple of jerks anyway. We would love to hear your questions, comments, and suggestions. We will do our best to answer anything hockey related. You can reach us via email at stormcellar97@gmail.com. On Twitter, we are at stormcellar97, and on Facebook at facebook.com/stormcellar97.